The top 10 deadliest shipwrecks of all time. Especially the last one. A crime of historical shipwreck. No, 10 Essex, the 20th of November 1820. The whaling ship Essex sailed in the South Pacific. Captain Dollard leads the crew to hunt without gold. Suddenly, a man about 26 meters long rushed towards the boat. Disappears after 2 violent impacts. The ship sank rapidly. 20 crew members made a hasty escape. They are trapped in the vast sea. Only by boat. To avoid the legendary Cannibal Island, they chose to sail south. A few months passed. Very little. Survivors have to feed on the remains of their companions. After about 3 months, only 8 people were rescued. This tragic shipwreck leave a lifelong shadow on the survivors. The most unheard of shipwreck in history. One of the events, 9th place, Central America, mid-19th century. America sets off a gold rush. California has attracted a large number of gold miners. Steamships became the first choice for transporting gold. This includes the 85-meter-long Mesoamerica. September 3, 1857. The ship was carrying more than 9 tons of gold. Sailing from Panama Clone. Time, New York. 6 days later, he was hit by a hurricane off the coast of the Carolinas. Storm for destroy the sails. Whole flooding. The crossing expired on September 11th. Mesoamerica loses power. Captain Hendon hangs the flag upside down for help. But there was no backup. In the end, 153 people managed to escape. 700 million to stay on board. Passed away at 8 p.m. on September 12th. Mid-American ship sinks. 425 people were killed. The value of the gold on board is equivalent to $300 million today. The news triggered the financial panic of 1857, causing a global economic crisis. 8th place, Indian Napoli, the 4th of July 1945. Late World War II. American heavy cruiser. The Indianapolis carried a crew of 1,195. Perform a secret mission. Suddenly, a Japanese submarine fired a torpedo and hit the ship. It sank in just 12 minutes. 300 people were trapped inside the boat. 900 survivors adrift in the Pacific Ocean. Due to the lack of life-saving equipment, someone was swallowed by the ship's leaking fuel. Someone died in the heat and cold. And here's what's even scarier. Hundreds of sharks began to attack those who fell into the water. Due to the failure of multiple receiving stations in processing distress signals, rescue arrived for days late. In the end, only 316 people survived. The disaster involved fish, sunlight hypothermia, and shark attacks. One of the worst shipwrecks in history. The 7th Princess Alice, September 1876. Princess Alice abandons ship to return to London. On the way, he collided with a large cargo ship. 890-ton cargo ship hit the middle of the Princess Alice. Rip it in half. Ships go silent for a few minutes. Although the width of the river is only about 500 meters, but many passengers can't swim. And it got worse. The accident happened near the London sewage station. Happened to be an hour before the accident. About 340 million liters of raw sewage was discharged into the Taiwan. Of the more than 700 passengers in this stretch of water, only 130 survived. But some of them suffer from ingestion of sewage. Died within days. This tragedy not only claimed a large number of lives, it also exposed the environmental problems in London at that time. 6th Sultan, April 1865. The American Civil War has just ended. UO's federal prisoners of war overjoyed to board the Sultana. Steamship reverse. This 79-meter-long wooden crew is designed to carry 375 passengers, but Captain Mason made money. It was packed with 2,400 people, and it got worse. He knew there was a problem with the boiler, but it's just a simple fix. Early morning of April 27th, the ship suddenly exploded, causing a fire. Many people died on the spot. More people were trapped under the collapsed deck. The survivors had to float in the Mississippi River, waiting for rescue. In the end, only 700 of the 2,300 passengers survived. Captain Mason also died at the bottom of the river. This tragedy, it became one of the worst maritime disasters in the United States. 5th place, Donlin Howe, July 24, 1915. East Land Hokelin in Chicago, Hippo Hair. Birth-related accident. This 80-mile-long vessel, originally known for speed and style. But there is the defect that the center of gravity is too high and unstable. In response to new regulations following the sinking of the Titanic, Donglan Hao has added life-saving equipment, further aggravating the upper deck. 6:41 that morning. The boat begins to tilt to the right chord. The crew tried to balance by injecting water, but the boat instead tilted 25 degrees to the left chord, then completely reversed. Passengers on the upper deck were able to escape, and the lower decks are trapped. Someone was injured by a sliding object. Someone was submerged by the influx of water. Ultimately, 844 of the 2,500 passengers were killed. Most died within a few meters of the offshore well. This accident, one of the worst shipwrecks in history. Ironically, life-saving equipment that's supposed to protect lives. Instead, it became a deadly nation. 4th place, Lejuras, September 2002. A ferry named Lejuras from West Africa, sailing from the strange port of Joal in southern Senegal, sailing towards the northern capital Dakar. This 79.2-meter-long vessel, originally twice a week round trip. The voyage is about 483 kilometers. However, due to maintenance, he can only drive once a week, resulting in a surge in ticket demand. On September 26th, Urjulis carried 1,863 passengers, well over the rated capacity of 580 people. After the ship sailed into the storm, due to the high center of gravity of the overloaded nucleus, it invaded in just 5 minutes. Many passengers were trapped in the overturned hull bubble due to the lack of a distress signal from the crew, until the survivors fired flares. Only then did the small fishing boat rescue. The official rescue team arrived at the scene the next day, but couldn't rescue the trapped people. 16 hours later, Lejuras completely sank. In the end, only 64 of the 1,863 passengers survived. One of the worst maritime disasters in Africa. 3rd place, Zhang Yahao, late 1948. The civil war between the Kuomintang and the Communist Party is like fire. Of Shanghai, thousands of people named Zhang Yahao abandoned the ship and fled. On December 4th, the ship originally carrying 2,150 passengers, we actually packed in thousands of people. After setting sail for 50 kilometers, Zhang Yahao touches the remnants of World War II at the mouth of the Huangpu Violent River. Explosion at the stern of the mine. Diving kept the hull from sinking completely, but the survivors were soon swallowed up by the influx. The TV was flooded. The distress signal failed to be sent. Rescue boats arrived 3 hours later. There are very few survivors left. The tragedy claimed the lives of approximately 3,920 people, the worst shipwreck in our country. The death toll was nearly 3 times that of the Titanic. 2nd place, Donapas, December 1987. Dorniapas, Philippines. The ferry was nearly 3 times overloaded, carrying approximately 4,400 passengers. December 20th at 6:30 a.m. The ferry departs from Lady Island around 10:30 p.m. He was on a cruise ship carrying thousands of tons of gasoline. Collision due to the captain watching a movie. The crew is drinking. Neither side is aware of the other. The collision causes a big bang. The fire spread rapidly. Many people were killed in the explosion. The survivors were forced to plunge into the burning sea. An hour later, passing ships find fire and rescued 26 survivors. The tragedy killed an estimated 4,374 people, 2,800 more people than the Titanic, become the worst overseas in the world during peacetime. The 1st place, Gustloff at the end of World War II. In response to the Soviet Army's westward advance, Germany launched Operation Hannibal. This is a sea evacuation plan designed to transport German troops and civilians back to Germany from Eastern Europe. January 1945. Hundreds of thousands of German refugees flooded into present-day Poland. Port of Dinier hoped to board Wilhelmit Straff military transport ship. The 208-meter-long ship was originally scheduled to carry 1,465 people with about 10,000 passengers. Overload 6.5 times. On January 30th, the Wilhelm Gustloff set sail, heading to northern Germany. Unexpectedly, a Soviet S-13 submarine was tracking underwater. 9 o'clock that night, the submarine fired 3 torpedoes to hit the ship. Survivors rushed to the deck to take cover. Rising water level, but most lifeboats are frozen in danger. The tilt made the situation worse. Ultimately, only 9 lifeboats were launched. Most were forced to plunge into the icy Baltic Sea. The water temperature is below 4 degrees Celsius. Survivors quickly lose consciousness. By the end of the rescue, only about 1,200 people had been rescued. The William Gustloff sank. About 9,000 people were killed.